Hey everyone. Today I have a little chat with Joel from Joel Our Magic. We talk about the recent survey that came out, Secret Lairs in general, and where we think magic is headed. It's a bit of a yap sesh, so just feel free to put this on in the background, listen to it while you're doing some chores or taking a nice drive somewhere. Hope you guys enjoy. I'm here with Joel Our Magic, and we're talking about why it's our fault that everything is going to crap in Wizards. From Secret Lairs to a maybe mistimed survey to the 2026 release schedule. Joel, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well, Spec. How you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know, bearing the weight of being an influencer that just pours negative commentary down into the pipeline.
Yeah. That was a tough survey question to see. Knee-jerk reaction was, I'm insulted, but after thinking about it for a while, even before Blake tweeted and clarified everything, that was like,
great,
yeah, we should have, we missed that one. We probably should have paid attention a little bit more, was essentially what it boiled down to. That question appears in these surveys. How much did influencers influence your opinion of stuff? They just want to know. Honestly, I think it's better for us, selfishly, if they are asking and people are saying, oh, they did affect our opinion one way or the other, because that means, oh, we should work with the influencers.
From a selfish point, they've always asked. Yeah. They've always asked, hey, who are you listening to? Who are you like? None of those questions have changed. I think people were just a little raw because, you know, it came right after that other question. They hadn't seen that before. It was weird to me because it's like these surveys, I feel like didn't change or hadn't changed. And then all of a sudden, this one came out of the blue and like a lot of questions were just out there.
Yeah, this one there is a lot of new use of AI floating around to do a lot of the more menial corporate work, and that makes sense. People are getting used to that kind of thing. Corporations are requiring more of their employees than ever before at the highest level with the least amount of resources. And so it is very feasible to me and makes a ton of sense that we could have had a survey created, here's everything we want to ask, boom, make it, and that exists, and it does that, and then they scan it, they're like, da, looks good, fire.
Yeah.
And you can't go, da, looks good.
No.
You need to just go ahead and pick through it and be sure, because they're great tools, but they're not infallible yet.
I think in no small terms, that was essentially what Blake said. And it's like, hey, turns out I have to vet this.
Exactly.
And I will next time. My bad, guys.
Yeah, I overall with this issue feel like it was a little bit of a non-issue. The average person, it doesn't even really affect, other than, are you seriously blaming your bad set on influencers, which they weren't doing?
No.
I know as well as anybody that, bro, if they punished creators for saying negative things about WotC, I wouldn't have worked with them. I've been working with them for years. So
overall, I think it was fun to poke fun at it and stuff. I think
I made memes, for sure. But I didn't make a video on the channel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't feel the need to talk about this on my channel.
I think this is as much, like, I want it to be like a small part of this is as much as I think it deserves. Because it was funny. It was a gaffe. They made a mistake, and as Blake said, it's the few times that he actually comes out of the woodwork to say, hey, our bad. Like, I see this.
Right.
Unlike Secret Lairs, which I feel like radio silence is the norm for how these things perform.
I think that's out of necessity. I honestly feel like they have more rules than anybody, Wizards does, on what they can and can't say. We know that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as they change the model, this is the sort of thing where less is more to them, because they know that every single word that is said is going to be picked to absolute shreds by the community. And so they understand what the problems are. They've heard the feedback. I made a full video just with my suggestions on how this could be better, hoping that it would reach the right ears and they'd go, well, we can't do that, but thank you for your suggestions.
No, I thought that video was a smash, but out of your mouth, it's itself. How do you think this has changed, in the last few years?
It's become much more reliant on the FOMO model completely, and it's punishing the average player more than anybody. It's become this setup where even with WPN stores, they're almost congratulated, patted on the back for scalping as hard as anybody and then reselling it for more. I think that they could work them into the system much easier and have it be part of a healthy, thriving system while still using their model that I am a huge fan of, that I call the parfait. They have done such a great job I think, in the booster phone era of making the game more affordably playable than ever. And I know that's hard for people to hear, but if you just buy singles, this game is cheaper than ever. And I know packs are like the cost of the game is insane on the sealed side. But because of the high levels of treatments and the variations of different treatments of even one card, especially of the most playable stuff and the most reprintable stuff, look at remastered sets over the last couple of years.
Well,
we are in a situation now where
over the last couple of years, because I don't get to look at them in the next coming years.
no more. Those are done.
Yeah.
But I wish that they would apply that model more to the Secret Lair offerings, and it seems like they are. Look at the Furby layer that had non-foil, foil, and confetti foil. And so I would imagine the secondary market is going to be very friendly to just go and get playable versions of those real cards.
Yeah. I feel like people don't see sometimes the amount of probing that Wizards does, especially when it comes to the Secret Lair stuff. Like we had the raised foils that everyone was very upset about, right? You like the $100 for. Yeah. No one was a big fan of that. I know a couple people bought it for science and were not enthused by the science that they had done. But after that, we got $60 Galaxy foils in Chaos Vault. And they're like, well, let's try again. We're going to tweak this, right? And that sold out almost immediately. And people were like, $60. Yes, I will happily pay $20 extra for a slightly, I'll call it a better treatment. I like the Galaxy foil treatment. But do we think that it cost Wizards another $20 extra to do that type of foiling over the
No, I don't think anybody has that illusion. I think their whole thing is an enormous margin business. That's what they have over there.
Oh yeah, and we saw it with this one, right?
Right.
So they're like, oh, that worked. Let's do confetti foils for the Furbies, and yeah, that stuff sold out as well.
Immediately. I also think they have to, and I think it's why they're doing the apology send outs, because number one, their margins are insane, and so they can definitely absorb customer service costs. And sending out that Galaxy foil replacement because the first run was so dull, I'll say, that is, I think, them saying, hey, please have faith in our foil treatments. 100%. Because you go and you look at raised foil, and they're like, oh, okay, well, people, I guess, don't like raised foil. Well, people really liked Galaxy foil. The Soul Ring and the Arcane Signet and the Command Tower from back in the day, Secret Lair, are legendary. And so that still has a lot of clout and will sell just on its own. Boom. It sells out. It's crap. And they're like, we got to keep everybody's perceptions of this foiling good because we want to use this again. We only have so many of these foiling types that we can FOMO people out on.
I think it's a shorter timeline for Secret Lairs in terms of production, but obviously they had stuff in the pipe ready to go. Like these Furbies had already been created in confetti,
100%.
Right? 100%. So they're like, hey, we need to make good on this to make sure like we have.
And that, from a more macro view, is something that everybody has to keep in mind, is that Wizards is a battleship and they cannot make changes within the same year even of a change getting noticed. Maybe like a year out, 2 years out. That's typically 2 years out is what I hear is kind of the rule of thumb of how far out planning takes for them. And so it's just something they have to keep in mind.
Or later too. But yeah, so Secret Lairs have obviously changed though a bunch. We went from what was like a week or so of like, hey, here it is. You have this week to get it and we'll just print it to demand for everything we have to the now, as you said, full FOMO model with extra FOMO Chaos Vault on the side with, you can buy a hat. You can't buy a hat. The hat sold out in like 43 minutes, which sure.
No bonus card in that hat either, by the way. Couldn't believe that. I figured that was the entire pull, was some crazy secret bonus card, but
I thought there was going to be a command tower for sure.
Yeah, something, right? Soul Ring. Another Soul Ring with a hat on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, obviously it's changed this whole FOMO thing, but how is that? I personally have not enjoyed that whatsoever when it comes to, I'm lucky enough that my Mondays are pretty clear. Sure. I can sit and do this stuff, but I think, and you touched it, like the anger and stuff that people have seen just because they have no chance whatsoever unless they know someone. And even if they do, that's tough because it's just so hard to combat all the botting and the scalping that's happening. But I think more so from what you said in your video, by the way, go watch Joel's video if you haven't. But the most that I saw out of this one was, I think I saw so much upsetness in Marvel. I saw people frustrated with the system. I saw all of that leading up to this, and then we had a lull because the layers just weren't that great. But this one came along; it was really nice, and I think just people gave up. I think I saw more people just broken posting about this than I did anything. Than I saw any anger. I saw like Aaron said he's just done with this.
I was going to say more prominent voices than ever spoke out. More prominent, different voices. Obviously, you've got people like Professor who are always banging the drum of Secret Lairs sucks. But
yeah,
I mean, look, it really just comes down to wasted time. We are literally lining up to waste our money. That's not something that anybody's going to get mad at with Magic the Gathering. The cost of Magic sucks to buy sealed right now. We know that, but we're all still spending it. And so we've shown them that we are willing to spend the money. What I can't abide is the waste of time. When there are systems that could take 15 minutes to know whether you're going to get a place in line or not, and you could be done and move about your day. It's like I said, we are used to being losers as Magic the Gathering players. Just tell us whether we won or lost. We don't want to sit there while somebody combos off and plays solitaire, and we just don't get to play the game. And that's essentially what Secret Lair feels like at this point, is sit there and watch that little thing walk from left to right.
Even if Wizards said, hey, you have to sit in this dumb line by yourself, and you don't have your phone. If we just place you in isolation for 6 hours, but you will get the card, those rooms would be packed.
Like some people would do it. Yep,
absolutely. Exactly. We see that all the time.
I just don't want the time wasted anymore. That's really what I think could be avoided and solve a lot of these problems
too. Right? Like people would waste time and or money if they knew it was a thing that they could have. But the wasting of those things and still it being up for grabs, or knowing that it's not even being up for grabs, because I think if people knew it was a fair shake up for grabs, they would still do it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is just make it a game with a clear win-loss. Make losing clear instead of it takes 3 hours and I guess I didn't get it.
People just think the deck is stacked against them at this point. Between Amazon like being sold out every single time to, Secret, like there's no avenue at this point for Magic players, especially with all this new Universes Beyond stuff that's carrying this premium price that has attracted a lot of people trying to flip product into our space. People just don't think they can even and they can't get a hold of sealed product at the MSRP that we were seeing, stuff, unless the set absolutely tanks. And then oh, okay, now that everyone knows it's bad, quote, even if it's not, or whatever your opinions of it are, right? The only reason I'm getting this at MSRP is because the widespread, thought is that this set is terrible. It's like, oh, great. Now I get to spend $500 on a collector booster is because we know it sucks.
Right.
So thoughts to fix this. I know you covered, hey, doing this print to demand as the like a second run of it,
Yeah, sort of a hybrid model where, say the confetti foils, right? If you have the right parfait, in my opinion, you're going to create a situation like with Furby, where if you have the right parfait and you have a good system for telling people up front whether they won or lost, that's really all I want. You're going to have a success, because the confetti foils are going to go fast to the people that win the lottery, that win the draw, and then you're going to have everything else after that. But you're not going to have any wasted time. You're going to have certainty and clarity, which is just what I think we need.
Fine. Like, I know a lot of people have brought up, hey, give the offering. Here's the initial offering. If you get it, you get it. If not, it's okay. You'll get the print to demand stuff later on. I could even see them saying, hey, we're going to open this up for a whole week. You have a whole week to do this. Once the confetti foil, or like if they have that premium layer, that gold flake parfait, if that sells out and you don't get that, we're not reprinting that. Like, that's not print to demand.
For sure.
I would even be okay with that.
Yeah. Non-foils.
If I could get something, right?
Yep.
Because
focus
a
on
lot
playable
of people,
copies. That's mostly what people want anyway.
People want the fun art, right? Like, so even if they can't get into the foil, like I saw a lot of people like, well, I can't get the D2 foil. So let me at least hopefully I can get this sick new art in non-foil. Nope. Well, now I'm not going to buy anything from the layer because, people were like, oh, I'll because people like to, I feel like, make good choice or good bad choices with their money. They're buying cardboard, but it's like, I'm going to buy 2 of these. I'm going to get this thing. I'm going to get I'm gonna get my shipping covered because I don't want
Right.
to spend an extra this. And then like when you knock a third of that out, it's like, well, how am I going to cover my shipping now? It's like, and then they start to think a little too hard. They're like, maybe I don't need any of this.
I feel like with the D-Tutor in particular, consider the idea that $100 halo foil version of that layer existed, and assume, I mean, that people who spent the 120 to get 2 of the foils, you know, if 30% of those people instead buy the halo foil version, that opens up more regular foil versions. And so that's what I'm talking about with the parfait is that's not always going to be the case. You're still going to have bots. You're still going to have scalpers that are just buying max of everything. But if we can just like even a percentage chunk move that audience, because that's what I would have done. I was like, I think I'll spend 120 on 2 foil copies of Demonic Tutor. That sounds good to me. I want to waste my money on that.
Sure.
But if there had been a halo foil version, I think I would have gone, okay, I think I'm just going to buy the Secret Lair with the halo foil and just have 1 halo foil D-Tutor, and I'll figure out the rest, Armageddon and whatever else came as bonus cards for that Demonic Tutor that everybody
I was
bought.
only buying it for the Armageddon, actually.
Oh, well, congratulations on that.
Well, I didn't get
it. Well, you shouldn't have bought it just for that, because those singles are going to be cheap on the secondary market. All
true.
anybody wanted was that D-Tutor. But I do think simplicity, clarity, stack it more collector. Like if we're going to go for it, let's go for it. Let's have one that has gold flake on it. $500 Secret Lair for 4 cards.
Yeah, I think
Take
just
my
like
ideas, Secret Lair, take them. They're all yours.
For sure. I think all of that can work to some degree. I think the biggest thing for me I would like to see from Wizards would be something that says like a dry article that's like, these are all like, you don't have to detail it, but like we've taken a bunch of steps to combat botting and bullshit when it comes to the layer like line up thing, to be like, hey, we are trying to make this a better experience for you. We don't want to go into all the detail because obviously if we tell you what we're doing, they will just circumvent it. But something like how they gave us new foiling because they're like, hey, community outcry was this, Blake showed us this thing on the surface. Like, give us something to restore faith to buying Secret Lairs, because I think a lot of people are just burned out of that.
We'll see, and a lot of people may, but restore faith. Like, do you think that PlayStation's Secret Lair is going to have any less fury surrounding it? Do you think the Secret Lair countdown kit we're getting later this year is going to have any less fury? Bro, restore faith. It didn't go anywhere. And that is really my biggest point with this entire subject spec, is that they need incentive. We have to acknowledge that they're a company. We just need to be realistic about the world we live in. We have to acknowledge that they need some incentive to make those changes. Right now, what you just described, full waste of money. Nobody high up in that company would approve that, because there's no reason to. It's selling out every time. What are we improving?
I agree with you when it comes to the UB stuff, right? Like, obviously we've seen hotcakes go out, and I think you're right when it comes to the PlayStation. 100%. People are still like, the sentiment I see is like, man, I'm so bummed I missed D-Tutor. I'm doubling down for Sony stuff.
Exactly.
My point, though, is we had how many layers come out before this that didn't have, like, Sonic did terribly.
Yeah.
And that was Universes Beyond. SpongeBob, same, didn't do that great, even though much loved IP. And we had a slew of in-universe stuff that also did poorly. And maybe, a lot of that is due to the cards not being good, although the Sonic layer is insane. Like,
I was going to say, so then we have to start really diving into the definition of did poorly. Does our definition of a Secret Lair was great mean everybody got what they wanted, or that it sold out fast as hell?
I mean from the Wizards side.
That is where in the communication chain with the community and Wizards and everything, that's where it starts breaking down, because you start defining it as two different things.
If you're judging the success, like we just saw, like the D-Tutor sold out instantaneously, right?
Right.
We did not see that with the last 3 or 4 months of layers, right?
Not at all. But who would call the D-Tutor in the community side? Who would call the D-Tutor layer a success? I don't think anybody would.
No. Yeah,
Wizards, they would.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying success from the standpoint of Wizards. So if they, they see it on this layer, but if they don't see that kind of similar numbers, let's say,
Yeah.
from the last year of layers, which I don't think they have, right? I think, you point to the
maybe.
commander deck, right? The commander decks flew off the shelves. Like, you couldn't stop. Like, we had ordering issues with the first one.
Right.
The only sentiments I see from the dogs and the angels one are, it's like, oh man, I should have bought double of these, quadruple of these. Like, man, I'm so upset I missed on this stuff.
Yeah.
But then we had, the cute to brute one, not as good, but people were like, yeah, we'll still get it. And it sold out in a day or so. And then this last one was just like, hey, we raised the price $50 and we put much worse cards in it. And everyone's like, nah, pass.
Right.
Whereas,
and I bet the next commander deck that they do in Secret Lair is going to be a banger, because they know to keep selling commander decks in Secret Lair, they got to get us back on those.
Yeah, because
so
it's not going to be a price decrease.
Exactly. It goes product to product. And so, I mean, the solution has got to come from something, and this is how I position my entire take on it. It's got to be something that both sides are incentivized to approach, because being like, oh man, maybe they'll make the altruistic, customer-friendly decision.
Yeah, right.
No.
Not so much.
No. They're going to do what is cheapest and makes them the most money, and that's what we can expect. We don't look at ducks and go, roar like a tiger. We look at ducks and go, I expect you to quack.
Yeah. So that's, I think that's a pretty solid take on what's going on with Secret Lair. Hopefully they will do some back end work to make sure that, stuff goes to not all the bots, and maybe we have a chance at it. If you want a better chance at getting Secret Lairs, I do have a video out about it. So if you want to, you can
work in a group. That's the only way I'm going home with a foil copy of Demonic Tutor. Is my buddy Dom bought one for me when he checked out, because he got out ahead of me. I wasn't able to get everything I wanted, and that won't be the case, right? Like if you're doubling up, because they have reduced quantities to 2, 1 in some cases.
Right. And they've taken steps like that to try and prevent. Yeah. So they're doing stuff for sure. I would like them to, just to put something out, to say, hey, look, we limited it to 2 because of this,
Right.
Give us a little, just throw, I'm not saying they have to even work any harder than, because I'm sure because at the end of the day, I don't think they want all their stuff going to bots and scalpers and stuff. Like, they want their cards to go to the consumer. They're going to do cost. They're going to do cost analysis.
I was going to say, I think that's a second point of order, but I do believe, and this is why I always talk mad shit on Hasbro, but I don't really talk shit about Wizards. They're the ones making the choices and guiding the hand. I mean, they are the hand, but Hasbro's guiding the hand, in my opinion.
Sure.
And so I do think that there are really good people in Renton that want the best for the community. When I say they're not going to ever make decisions community forward, they're not who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the designers and the managers and all of the people working at Wizards of the Coast. And this isn't just me gassing them up either. Like, I've met these people and judged them for myself. I know what all of those people over there want, and it's generally the best interest of the community for sure. But they are going to be guided toward business decisions. And so, as a second point of order, yes, I agree with you. I think that the community is more forward in this niche than a lot of game niches. A lot of games that I've seen, they definitely listen to the community and put them first more. But that is never, ever, literally never going to override the business decision.
No.
I don't think.
No, it certainly doesn't. And, speaking to some of that stuff, I think a lot of the community, or at least parts of the community, don't understand the percentage of their particular niche of the community it actually takes up space in terms of Magic. Like, we've seen a lot of dissension coming from, like, let's say pro or competitive players, or people that really enjoy constructed, like, all the 1v1
competitive Magic right now is in an awful place.
It is. I think you can objectively point to the stagnation in the meta and stuff, but I think in terms of, I see a lot of backlash right now about Universes Beyond and stuff.
Sure.
And I see, and we're going to talk about the 2026 schedule, but in terms of what they're mentioning, it's the tonality that I see from the competitive players is like, we are the 90% and we let like 10% of Universes Beyond it, and we are now at the floodgates, and we got to stop this from, becoming the majority of our game. We can't let Commander take over and be all this thing. And, I think, while it's a fine sentiment to have, they are 5 to 10 years too late. And they are now I think they think they're the 90% of like what is making this game tick, and they're actually the 10%. Like Wizards is throwing them a bone by having competition and stuff, and not the other way around. Because if this is a business, which it is, they make no money. Like Wizards just loses money on competitive gaming. It's there to assuage people because that's what it used to be and whatever. But to have any inkling that Commander isn't the full driving force behind this game and the amount of money that Wizards makes, I think is just incorrect.
Yeah, of course. They've been open about it. I don't even think it's just straight objective at this point that Commander makes them the most money. The most people play Commander. More Magic is played on kitchen tables than anything in the entire world. Mm-hmm. And the competitive aspect has become a strong side note to the entire thing. But I do think there's two conversations in there, and I think people like to conflate these a lot. Okay. And that's Universes Beyond is ruining competitive Magic and Commander is ruining competitive Magic.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's two completely different discussions. I feel like the Universe Beyond piece is irrelevant once you have the Commander part of the discussion, because Universe is only the way it is because of Commander. And so if we didn't have Commander design leading pretty much the entire game at this point, maybe the competitive would be better. That's the most distilled that I've seen the discussion, and I think the smartest way to have the discussion, because it speaks to the design of the game, less the business decisions that they're making. I think it's just been a drum banged to death. They can do it well, they can do it shit. We've seen it both ways, everybody. Yeah. Like that is it is license to license, and it's set to set, right? It's how the design worked on that set. Spider-Man could have been a banger. It was awful. Yeah. Final Fantasy could have been awful. It was a banger. And so it is just always going to be set to set, license to license. I will say Commander design influencing competitive Magic? Absolutely. Absolutely. Not all you have to say is not do.
Right? And like they said, hey, this was a design for Commander card. They allocate so many cards in a set to be designed for Commander, right?
And then it ruined a whole Pro Tour. An entire Pro Tour event was ruined by a card that was supposed to be a Commander. Designed for Commander.
And so, obviously not good. But we've also had cards designed for Standard, ruin Standard, Absolutely. And, obviously VV is now kind of the dark horse of what's looming over it. But before that, we had Monstrous Rage. That wasn't anything, that was just like a WoW. Yeah. Or not a WoW, a WoW common, and that just
when that's just Standard. I feel like you're going to hear way more complaints about formats like Modern that have I think that if you really get into it and you're talking to pros not in a knee-jerk way, and I just interviewed Steve Stillman on the channel, the video hasn't been posted yet, but he played Pro Tour Edge of Eternities. Big fan of Commander, big fan of Universes Beyond, the whole nine. Not really pearl clutchy when it comes to the skins that the game has, but would prefer more attention on the competitive aspect of the game. I think without asking him directly, the Modern Horizons thing, that's what I was trying to get at. I think that most pro players, if you really had them get away from the emotional part about it, Modern Horizons has done more damage to competitive Magic
100% agree with that.
Than Commander design has, while Commander has its own influence.
I entered Magic playing Modern, and I had never.
Was it before or after Fire Design?
It was after. I came in around right before MH2 hit.
Oh, okay.
And did stuff. Yeah. So pretty recently it was when I started doing that stuff. And the amount of forced rotation that MH3 put in, or MH2 put in, and then MH3 as well.
Yeah, all of them. All of them have done it.
Just been heinous when it comes to that. Even Lord of the Rings had not so much an effect. I mean, they did have to ban the One Ring in Modern, but also reaching into Legacy and stuff with all like the cyclers and stuff. These designed to high power sets are format warping, and they each time, like maybe MH1 wasn't too bad, but the last ones have been off the rails in terms of what they've done. So what year did Modern Horizons 2 come out? 2 was 21 or 22.
21. Yeah, 2021. And so you've got 4 years, right? By MH2, 2 years away from MH3. That was already in progress. they start getting the feedback on MH2 going, okay, maybe people don't want, maybe it was a bad idea to rotate these legacy formats, these older formats.
From, or at least what community feedback seemed to be like,
but decent idea, right? To get new players into Modern. Like, I could understand it. Let's just rotate Modern a little bit. Let's do that.
The thing is, like, people were upset up until that point. MH2 was the best selling set that they had. So
of course, well, you need the cards, and that's always going to be the dichotomy.
And there's that cycle of chicken and an egg when it comes to competitive Magic. It's like, yes, I don't like that you've done this. Yes, I need to compete, so I'm going to buy all of it, right?
Right. And so you have 2021 MH2. They're already on MH3 because MH2 sold like crazy. Might as well do another one. And then by then it's, oh crap. Okay, these sets are warping formats. These sets are, and now where are we at? No more master sets for a while. We're just going to pull back on those,
right? But, I mean,
is it? That's a response to the community feedback, and you're seeing the cycle timing. Well, I think you can almost see the 2-year, like it just, you can see it happening when they make these choices,
right? And while I know we all love reprint sets, I do. I think we've seen the remaster set specifically do super poorly. Like Innistrad remastered, Ravnica remastered. I mean, I think Dominaria
for selling, but it did great for getting cards back into. Like I said, if you're only going singles, which is singles is one of the most obtuse ways to get into Magic. Just going and buying singles. Everybody's like, "Oh, buy singles," but the starter person doesn't even know how to do that or where to start. I get that, but if you just buy singles, the game has never been cheaper.
Yeah. Although I will say in terms of competitive Magic, you do have to play sealed. That is an aspect of it. And with all half of the universes beyond, more than half of universes beyond being in standard, that's a 20% price, like $20 price hike on
100%.
So if you're trying to practice sealed and you're not using others, like if you're just buying cards and playing drafts and stuff, like this is like standard will cost you more money in that aspect for sure.
Oh yeah. And I think that's where you're seeing a lot of the complaints about the cost of Magic is in your limited players, because those are the people who don't get the luxury of buying singles. You got to buy the sealed to play that version of the game.
Right, for sure. I mean, and we have more sets coming out than ever before, so it's like, maybe we're spending less on cards, but there's more velocity on cards, so we're spending less on a specific card, but you're just buying more cards overall. So, it'd be interesting to see, what their total, hey, this is what it's shaking out to be. It's like, we've got it less, but it's more kind of thing. Who knows?
Well, I actually did the math. I've got a video coming out in the next couple of weeks. I've sat down and did a bunch of math on how many cards are coming out next year, because everybody's on this 7 sets is too much. And I agree.
But
I think the core point is for them, they've been in this mindset for years of not every product is for everybody. But it's taken the community longer to fall into that mindset. But I think next year is going to be the biggest mindset shift in the Magic community that we've ever had.
Agreed.
Because
100%.
Secret Lairs, 7 sets. Look, we're only getting 120 extra cards next year. Now, 120 might sound like a lot to some people, but when you look at Magic the Gathering, 120, half of those cards completely unplayable outside of draft.
Yeah,
immediately.
And are we even going to get that many more? Because we saw.
No, it is exact. I sat down and did the math. It's exactly 120. Well, it's like 115 to 125. It's somewhere in there. But 120 more cards next year than this year. Now, 7 sets versus 6 sets sounds super spooky, scary.
No.
When you go, it's only 120 extra cards. Half of those are unplayable. A quarter of those are maybe playable, and a half of those. So we're getting down to an eighth of the actual 120.
Well, what I'm saying is
that we might want in
depth, because we saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is only going to be 190 cards.
Right.
So how many short sets are we getting?
I mean that does assume that.
That's what I'm saying. Like
superheroes are going to be full. That all of the ones that have been announced minus TMNT,
right?
I believe would be full sets.
I think it's a good premise, right? Like you're saying, even if every set is like a full set, it's not that many more cards, right? But
especially if you adopt the mindset of ignore some stuff, you can do it.
Yeah,
we were born and bred.
Again, we don't need
it, dude. I've been playing Magic for over 20 years. My first pack was an Apocalypse pack, and I have always been in the mindset. All collectors have always been in the mindset. You can collect all this game, the entire game. You can have all the pieces, all the special treatments. You can be a completionist with this game. I think that I don't think. I know. That's impossible now. You don't do that anymore.
No.
There's 1% cards. There's secret layers that are unobtainable for people who cover the game on a professional daily basis. You can't complete this game. There is no completionist in this game anymore. The sooner I think that people adopt that mindset, the sooner they'll be able to wrap their head around next year and have a good time with it, because the cards are sick. I've enjoyed playing with Spider-Man. I got my Spider-Man deck here. I got my J. Jonah Jameson deck. I built this.
How'd that play?
Played
How'd
that
play
on stream.
yesterday, by the way?
Way better than I thought it was going to be.
Nice,
I took my aggro goad shell, half of the Nelly Borka deck that I took and put into my cloud deck, because it was a goad equipment was how I built Nelly Borka, and I took all the equipment half and put it into cloud, and I took the goad aggro half and put it into J. Jonah Jameson to build this deck. And so it's a mono red goad aggro deck, nothing can block and everything has to attack. Let's go.
Love it. I love me some goad. So I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, there's still really good stuff in here. I think looking at the release schedule, there's some. It was crazy to see how many people were excited for Strixhaven, but good for them. I don't personally care. Like, I was here for Strixhaven. I thought it was fine, but
it was fun.
It was cool to see people really, really jazzed about that. I think, Lorwyn, I think people were pretty jazzed. I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were most jazzed for superheroes.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Right? I am very intrigued by Fractured Reality or Reality Fracture, because Mark Rosewater in the preview panel said that they're doing something with that set. There's an innovation in that set that he didn't know if it was physically possible when they came up with it. And that is intriguing, right? 3-sided cards, sphere cards, cube cards, where it's like,
it's
I don't really know.
All the unhinged is finally culminated into this card requires you to origami it and flick it at your opponent.
Right. I am intrigued, to say the least. I think the floor of that is like, the entire set is no. I think my best guess right now is that the entire set's going to be dual-sided cards. And they were like, can we make an entire set of dual-sided cards? Because Reality Fracture, the realities are shifting.
Maybe.
You also have some like Lorwyn influence, right? Because you've got, when we go to Lorwyn, we're going to get some like day, night, Lorwyn, Shadowmoor, Eventide stuff. It was
going to be some sort of like plane chase thing, but in standard. Like bring back global, like world, like
exactly
stuff.
New card type, something like that.
Yeah.
That is where I'm kind of thinking is like, easiest would be, it's like War of the Spark, where they were like, we didn't know if it was possible to have 8,000 planeswalkers in one set and give planeswalkers passive abilities like their enchantments.
Yeah.
And so I could see him also being like, the entire set is modal DFCs. Those were a huge hit with Modern Horizons 3.
Every game of Standard you play with Reality Fracture, someone has to dress up as Teferi and has to shout at you from beyond the veil. You're like, I'm still here, guys.
Actual magic in the game.
Yeah. I think I'm most excited for none of the IPs themselves. Like, I think they're all kind of the same. Like, I like Marvel. I like The Hobbit. Star Trek. I mean, I like spaceships, so like, I'm tentatively hope. I don't care about Captain Kirk being a card, but like,
no,
if I get to run the Enterprise as my commander, like, I'll be
sure. There's going to be some IPs that I connect to wholly, and there's going to be some IPs I don't. I don't care, and I think I've made this clear. I don't care what my cards are skinned as. I really don't.
Yeah.
I want interesting designs. I want cool cards to play, and I want fun cards to play. That's
I think we're going to get that. And so to say, like, I think Lorwyn showed us some cool designs. I'm most excited for, I think, The Hobbit when it comes to mechanics stuff.
I think that set's got a lot of potential to be a banger because of the clout that Lord of the Rings 1 had. What they really need to do is like take care with it, because what you don't want is a Commander Legends Battle at Baldur's Gate situation where they slap a name on something to get you to buy because of name, and then it flops just because it doesn't live up to that expectation. While that set was sick, there was a lot of cool stuff in that set, but nobody wanted to hear about it because there was no Jeweled Lotus.
No,
because it wasn't Commander Legends.
They didn't market that right at all. But
correct.
I think with this stuff, I hope that at least with all the Universes Beyond stuff, that we've reached the point in that 2-year dev cycle where they've realized that we don't need this many legendaries, and they can start toning that down.
We'll see. It's tough, man. What do you do? That is going to be the fatal flaw of Universes Beyond eventually, is that you can't have this without the named characters, because people want to play the named characters. And so that's just going to be legendary. The places, the items, and the people are all legends. So yeah, they're going to have to figure out something around that.
Yeah, I think they and I'm not saying get rid of it wholly, like obviously you're right, but I think they need to tone it back a little bit, like especially like when I think I saw like the Spider-Man, they're like commons with legendary names. It's like, okay, come on, like let's.
Well, I think that's why they wanted the small set model to work so hard, and that's why they've tried to reconfigure it multiple times to get it to work, even though we were very clear after March of the Machine that this is not something we're into.
Stop it.
They've done it twice more since then, and we know that TMNT is going to be the same way. Now, he was very clear, Mr. Blake, about, this was designed from the beginning with that in mind. This was not a shift. And I'm like, so was March of the Machine. Tell me more. We'll see. I'm always in a we'll see mode with this game. They are constantly trying to make it better. I know that for a fact. That while I said earlier they may not be like 100% customer forward, even though they want to be in Renton because of Hasbro, they're not. I do think that they have the game's best interest in mind in general, and they're always trying to do the best thing for it because they don't want it to fail. They need it to succeed. They need it to keep being this incredible margin business.
I work for a company this is not my day job. I have, I want us to do well, but I would say that insofar as like, I work a 9 to 5, I think you can definitely tell that, when you talk to the Wizard staff at events and stuff, it doesn't feel like a 9 to 5 to a lot of those people.
No, they want it to succeed. They want people to be having fun. They want it to be a good game. They need it to be a good game.
Yeah.
And so they're not making these choices on purpose. They just are constantly in a mode of trying things. And I think that that's why you see them be like Blake, Mark, they always seem like they're kind of at peace with how much shitstorm is going on around them. And I think it's because they're like, well, I know what's 2 years, 4 years out. I know what we were trying to do with that silly mistake. I know what we're going to do to fix it, and we don't have any of that perspective.
And they have a
so I always try to keep that in mind, right? Not to just be completely like apologist bootlickers for
but we also live
in
like a microcosm of the Magic space anyway. Like though, as with anything, right? There's the hardcore people super dialed in and stuff that makes up a small percentage of like what's
absolutely.
Actually, and
even Magic players who are on the internet at all. Right? I think are the minority to Magic players who are not on the internet engaging with this on a constant basis.
100%. So they, while they see, all of us yelling with pitchforks in a corner, they're like, yes, but look at, we see the numbers from like the vast sea of people playing this game, and we're going to tune for that, right?
And we know where we're going, and we know where we've been, and we know why we were where we were. Yeah.
So overall, excited for 2026 of Magic?
I'm always excited for Magic. I'm obsessed with Magic. It is one of my favorite things in the world, and I'm always gonna be criticized for being too much of a fan and too much of an apologist for it, because I like to give them benefit of the doubt, and I like to play the game.
I think you call it pretty straight, but
I try to be reasonable.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming and chatting with me, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Everybody subscribe to MTG Metrics. Go down there and do it. It's the subscription button. You click it.
You can also ding the bell. I don't know where the bell is.
Ding the bell.
Yeah.
I don't know where the bell is. I never talk about the bell. Ding a bell.
Ding a bell, boys. All right. I think we're good. I hope you enjoyed that chat. We may do more of those in the future if people like them. But yeah, there was so much current event stuff to talk about. We figured we'd just have a little chit chat. So yeah, hope you liked that. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.